What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Grounded, where we're here to help teach land investing, land wholesaling, and help you either get your first deal or your next deal. So, in this episode, we kind of wanted to go over, and we've actually had people reach out to us. How do you find land deals? And so, with Isham being the head of our acquisitions team, in this episode, he's going to go over how we find them, where we find them, just kind of give you the rundown of our acquisitions side of our business. And so with that, I'll make it short and sweet and pass it right on over.
Hey, it's my turn. My turn to talk.
That's right.
Guys, so acquisitions is something that I really love. It's fun. It's like it's a game. You're trying to solve problems. We're sorting. Not convincing. We're not in the convincing business. We are looking for the lookers. We're looking for people who want to sell their land, right? So it's a fairly simple process, but it can be complex when you dig in a little bit. So I'm going to do my best to try and keep it as simple as possible in this explanation and overview. But we're gonna share screen. We're gonna drive for dollars. We're gonna do all kinds of stuff. Now, a small caveat before I dive into all of this. I know Tanner said that we, on this show, our aim is to teach and to, guide people along the way of land investing or land flipping. And we are definitely in the position to do that just because for the most part, I would dare to say, we know more than most people that are watching about land. Now, those land savages that are out there, if you're watching the show, shout outs to you guys for watching this. But definitely no salt being thrown. We know the lane that we're in and we stay in our lane. And so that being said, we still are learning. We're on our journey as well. And the beautiful thing about this show is you guys get to come along with us, right? So as we learn new things, we're going to share that, in these episodes. As we discover new methods, as we discover new lead sources or things you could say or do, disposition methods, all this stuff. We just learned a new one not too long ago that we're incorporating into our business. And it's really changing the game. It's kind of like in single family where when seller finance, got brought to the deal, it's like, whoa, like there's a whole new avenue. So we're going to dive into all of that stuff here today. So I'm pretty excited. And I, unlike Tanner, am a good teacher. And I made up a nice little slideshow for you guys for the visually challenged people out there. Not visually challenged. I don't know. The visual learners like I am. So I had to see it. I had to see what's going on. And then it'll make sense to me in my head. So, and by the way, Tanner and I work very well together. And you're probably going to see a lot of ball busting going on, because it's just the culture of our business. It's what we do. It's our team. We like to have fun. We like to make fun of one another. And all of us have thick skin. So if you see me razzing Tanner, don't think that we've got some beef going on or anything. It's just the way we roll. It's the way I roll more so than anything. But with that being said, let's go into how to find land deals, right? So I'm going to pull up this nifty little slideshow we got here. And let's go through this. All right. So how to find land deals. So land lead sources, right? The first thing we need to find is like, where do we get land opportunities, right? Land's everywhere. They're not making any more of it. It's in abundance. So we got to find it. How do you find land? Are you a micro flipper who you're looking to, connect a deal to a buyer or whatnot? Are you the cold caller guy who just, wants to pull lists and just, crush calls? Are you the patient stalker hunter who wants to drive for dollars and really get really niche, and accurate info and data? And so there's all kinds of lead, resources. So I'm going to leave all these up here. But I just want you to know that they're there. But we're not gonna dive into all the different sources, but I will go down. So there's driving for dollars, and that's obviously when you get in your car and you literally drive around your neighborhood or your town or your city, and you're looking for opportunity. You're looking for vacant lots, right? Infill lots. That's what we specialize in. You don't really need to drive for dollars for rural land, I would imagine. It's you're driving around the countryside at that point. Um, but when you're driving through neighborhoods, you're looking for house, shitload of trees, house. Oh, okay. That the spot where the trees are, it's probably an infill lot. And so that's driving for dollars. Virtual driving for dollars is doing the same thing, however, virtually. You may live in, Two Egg, Alabama, and that market kind of sucks, and you want to, drive for dollars in Tampa or, Jacksonville or something crazy. And so that's where virtual driving for dollars comes in. For that, there's all kinds of free resources you can use. We use a free resource in our company. We use mostly the property appraiser site, but there's Zillow. There's if you don't have a property appraiser in your county or your state, there's usually a GIS map that is in your county assessor's website. So you can just type in, whatever your county is, GIS, or whatever your county is, property appraiser, and you'll pull it up. And we'll dive into that in a second. So there's all kinds of ways that you can, virtually drive for dollars. Just be creative. There's services that you can pay for. Batch has a driving for dollars app. I will say that most of the services that have these driving for dollars features, Deal Machine, Batch, things like that, they're more set up for single family driving for dollars. And so they do some really cool things, like they track where you went, something that's very helpful that you'll find if you do drive for dollars. Because it's hard. It's like, crap, did I go by this street? Like, this lot looks familiar, because vacant lots look very
I'm
similar.
guilty of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, just keep that in mind, that if you're paying for something, you maybe get the free trial first and see if it's going to help you in your land adventures. Other than that, like, we actually got rid of our list building sources that we were using, just because we didn't need them. It's an additional expense, and everything that we do for the most part is free. So we acquire leads in our company for free, and we'll talk about that later. Lists are another thing. Obviously, we all know we can pull lists, right? You can go to Batch, you can go to PropStream, you can go to the guy in India, on Facebook who's selling you leads. You can go to whoever you want and get leads, lead lists. The challenge with lead lists, though, is something that you may run into. A lot of the times, lead lists aren't accurate. And so you'll call on, we had one of the guys in our team. So we're calling from old lists. One of the guys, he's going back and calling lists that we pulled like back in December. And this is when we were kind of just getting started. We didn't know a lot, so we didn't filter our list out properly. And so we've got all kinds of random stuff, but he called on a lot. And this happens a lot with our leads. He called, and the guy like laid into him and was like, "You idiot, I built a house there 3 years ago." And so just know that a lot of times those lists are not accurate. They were scraped at one point, and that data hasn't been updated. But lists are also a way for you to get a ton of properties without having to drive for dollars. Like, it takes us a while to scrape up properties driving for dollars. You can do it pretty quickly, and I'll show you a little bit, but it does take time. Whereas with the list, you can click a button, and you've got a list. And so I do not poo-poo lists. If you want to pay for lists, by all means, do it. Whatever it's going to take to get it done. You know what I mean? Tanner, what are some other little things regarding lists that maybe are concerning?
Yeah, the biggest is, a lot of lists won't pull APN numbers or parcel ID numbers. And for land, there's a lot of lots that have never been built on. And so lots that have just never been built on usually don't have a physical street address. The city doesn't recognize it as a mailing address or, as a residence of some form. So for that reason, they actually just only have a parcel ID or only have an APN number. And lists typically don't pull that from what we've found. And that's what's also caused a big disparity in our deals. Is a lot of our deals have come from virtually driving for dollars, just because we're able to go in and nitpick these, lots that don't show up on lists. And so that's the biggest thing to look for. The other thing to look for, I guess I'll throw this out there. If you're going to pull lists for land, I would definitely use PropStream over, Batch. because we've tried both in our company. And so batch, sure, you're going to get a list, but it's going to typically be a smaller list, and you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunity because batch does not pull APN numbers. Now PropStream does, but PropStream, and as Aishan was just saying, a lot of those leads on those lists are so outdated, like really outdated. So that's where we kind of have gone away from list, because we just found in land, it's just not as beneficial. So those are some things to look out for.
Yeah, huge points. Thanks for bringing those up. So again, no poo-pooing on lists, but just know what you're getting into, and learn from us. So Zillow is another excellent land lead source. Obviously, they have leads listed, or you can also use Zillow for driving for dollars. So you can actually click lot lines. There's a little button for that where it'll actually show the lines. And you can do it in a satellite map. You can do it in the regular, whatever, cartoony map. So Zillow. And then outside of that, there may be more that I missed. So if so, definitely make a comment and let us know if there's anything that you guys have used or are aware of that I didn't put on here. And I will share that with the gang. And by the way, for anyone who is watching live right now, shout out to you guys for checking in and following along with our journey. So just I love giving shout outs to everyone that's live. I can't see who's live there, but I love you guys. Thanks for the support, and give us any questions that you guys have. If I say something that draws a question, throw it in the comments, and because there's probably someone else who's thinking that same thing, and you're doing a massive disservice by not asking. So, okay. So those are all outbound methods that we talked, right? That is so there's outbound marketing, there's inbound marketing. Outbound marketing is when we are going out into the marketplace and saying, hey, this is what we do, right? Inbound marketing is where we still let people know what we do, but then they call us, right? So inbound is, more familiar. People build websites for SEO purposes, SEO, search engine optimization. It's where you pay someone a ton of money to basically lie to you and tell you that your SEO is running. SEO it's spendy, and you want to know about that before you dive in. So please don't just pay some guru who says they're knowledgeable about SEO. Like, learn about that, because you can spend a lot of money for a long period of time and get nowhere, because SEO takes time. It just does. I know a lot about that from my marketing background, but that's an inbound method, right? So if you dial in your SEO, when people search, I want to sell my land, your website pops up and they call you. Ads, social media ads, Google AdWords, whatever, there's ads, right? So you put your ad out there, you put your phone number on there, website, whatever, people get in contact with you. Mail, you send postcards out, letters, land offer letters, whatever. They get in contact with you, right? So that's inbound. That's when we put some stuff out in the marketplace and they reach out to us, right? We haven't started the inbound side of our business yet, because that typically costs money. And we want to perfect the outbound model first, and then we're going to bring in inbound a little bit later. We have a more team, better processes, and all that good stuff. Okay, cool. So those are the land lead sources. And Tanner, I thought you were going to give me crap for that title being so like.
It is so right. I mean, I may need some sunglasses, and I should have also said something about Zillow and Zillow, but it's okay. We're gonna.
What I do?
Zillow and Zillow.
Oh, it's in there twice.
Yeah. Sorry.
I mean,
on market,
because you're driving for dollars using Zillow, and then I meant Zillow on the fourth Zillow option. That was more so using Zillow to find on market. I should have said on market.
The other thing I'll say about mail, if anyone is getting into land and curious about mail, because mail is what you hear the most when you hear people buying land, wholesaling land, investing in land, all the above. You typically hear mail, right? You don't really hear a lot of people just cold calling landowners. But mail, if you do start a mailing campaign, just know on average, and we know people that do, it takes about 90 days or 3 months to really see, your marketing efforts start to compile. So whenever you're reaching out, if you are reaching out to mailing companies that you want mailers to send out to, and they tell you a price per month, just know on average, it usually takes 90 days to really see your efforts paying off. So that's just the heads up, which again is why we cold call, is because we like results quickly, and we like to control the results, and it's hard to control the results when you're doing inbound.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm sorry about that title being so bright. I figured, you were going to take issue to that, and so I changed it and I made one that was more fitting for you.
Very nice.
Yeah,
I'm all
I
for
think
it.
yeah, it's a lot less
Pretty in pink,
distracting.
baby.
There you go. So now that Tanner's happy with my title choice, we can move on. Guys, here's the thing. Why stand in when you were made to stand out? Like be that gray M&M in a bowl full of reds, or be that green Skittle in a bowl full of gray M&Ms. You know what I mean? Like, don't be better, be different. It's a mantra that we say in our business all the time. We do, because it's so true. So you want to separate yourself from the masses? Don't be better. Don't be better than the masses. Hey, we'll get you a different price. Hey, hey, I know you're getting cold calls from all these other people, but we are, you know what I mean? Like we pay more. Don't be better. Just be different. Just go a completely different route. We had a guest on our podcast, Wholesale Elite, Justin Ship from Chaotic. And by the way, if you guys haven't watched that one, it's a really good one. I would definitely go back and check that out. But Justin's someone who started off as a wholesaler, and he has a crazy story. But one of the things he learned to really catapult his business was to be different. He didn't want to make his business look like a real estate business. He wanted to make his business look like a tattoo shop. So he went crazy. And of course, being different caught people's attention, which brought him more business, where now he's got millions of dollars. And so, yeah, don't be better, be different. So with that being said, let's talk about what makes us different, right? I'm going to give you guys the Unwind Investments. That's us. Unwind Investments virtual acquisition model, right? We're virtual. That's what we do as a company. Our company is headquartered out of Florida, up in the Panhandle. But Tanner lives in Oklahoma. I'm in Alaska for now. Soon to move again. We've got people, and our team is literally all over the place. We have one person on our team in Florida, and they're like a 12-hour drive away from our market. So virtual can be done for sure. So our virtual model, we virtually drive for dollars, like I said earlier. We've just now brought lists back in, now that we're a little more fine-tuned and we can dial in our list a little bit better. We're bringing lists back to the stage, but virtual driving for dollars is going to be our bread and butter. It always will. It's just a beautiful way to do land. You'll see as we go through this, guys, land is completely different from single family. It's not, there's no need for a triple line dialer. There's no need for millions and squillions of leads, because you don't need to tear through that many people. Mostly everyone who has land bought it with the intention of selling it. They didn't buy the land to raise their family on the land. You know what I mean? They bought the land because they were going to build a house on it, or they're going to sell it at some point. So land is very transactional. So just know that. So we're going to call and or text. That's what we do. So first thing we do is drive for dollars, and then we outreach via call or text or text. And then once we get them on the phone, we go through our pillars. We put that deal in the underwriting. Underwriting determines the value of that lot. And then we get back to the seller with our offer. So it's not all done in the same conversation, which I think is another thing that makes us different. Most of these calls that our land sellers get are people calling with the number. And you'll see, you'll have people when you call, they're like, yeah, hey, I'm calling about your lot. Yeah, what's your offer? Because they get these calls all the time. They're just conditioned to talk numbers right away. And so that's where I say, be different, not better. We don't want to beat everyone else's offer. We want to establish ourselves as different. We'll talk about that here shortly. So again, we underwrite and then we make the offer.
For the audience. So virtual driving for dollars and then call or text. Are you saying that we just look for one deal, call that deal instantly, or what do you do when you're driving for dollars? Do you put it in a list and then call or text? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, my way can be completely different from someone else's way. I'm going to tell you my way, but that doesn't mean that's how you have to do it. Work at your own pace. Obviously, we want to be efficient. You know what I mean? But if you're brand new, if you're brand spanking new, I'm okay with you, finding a lot and then, taking the time to skip trace it and then maybe calling on that lot and just giving it a shot. However, it's a lot of work and a lot of time. And if you do that, after 3 or 4 no's or something, you're probably going to get discouraged. And so to Tanner's point, I would probably just stack it all up. You know what I mean? Drive for dollars for a little while. Maybe take a few days to drive for dollars. Get you a solid list. You know what I mean? Get something that that you can call on, for a few days. And so the model I'm going to show you it's a little bit different. So we have a system, obviously. But the model I'm going to show you, you can just take that, when we do skip trace it, you can take that person's name, put it on a spreadsheet, write it down, do whatever you need to do to be organized, and to be efficient. So good question. All right, well, let's hunt, shall we? And this is my reminder for me to switch the property appraiser site. That's why I put that there. Okay, so let me figure out how to share screen and get this stuff going on. And Tanner, if you want to talk while I'm doing the
No, it's so with the driving for dollars. And when I'm saying a list, it literally can be like a Google Drive or Google Sheet, essentially. And how we drive for dollars is essentially and I'm sure Aishan will go into this, but we pick a section. We don't just pick a whole market and say, yeah, we'll drive for dollars here. We really, divide it out, whether it's by neighborhood or zip code or something along those lines, and go street by street. And so you don't, because especially if you're driving virtually and you're driving in a market where you may not be too familiar with or you've never been to in person, so you just don't know it that well, you can get lost or whatever, and then you'll start seeing the same stuff over and over again. You're like, wait, I thought I already did that. Because again, land it pretty much all looks the same from a satellite image for the most part, unless there's something, it's an odd shape so just keep that in mind when you're driving for dollars. It really helped us to break apart a market, even a small market, break apart the market into zip codes or neighborhoods and divide and conquer that way. And then drive for dollars virtually and throw that in the list.
Boom. All right, I'm going to share screen then. Okay, can you guys see my screen? Everything good, Tanner? All right, good. I'm blind now. I can't see you guys, but let's do some driving, shall we? Okay, so we talked about the different things: Zillow, property appraisers, tax assessors, all that stuff. I don't know. I know some states have property appraisers or counties, maybe. Some have a tax assessor site. I think it just based on. We only work one market, one state, but just from helping other people, I think that it seems like non-disclosure states have the tax assessed, value. So they have a tax assessor and not a property appraiser because they don't really appraise property publicly. So if you do live in a tax assessor area, you may not have a property appraiser site, but you should have a GIS map. And if you don't have either of those, you will always have good old Zillow. So I'm just going to start with Zillow just to kind of show you guys what it looks like, kind of what you can click on and whatnot. So obviously just put in your city, and then just zone in on the map, right? So as far as sold and what to set and all that, you can look into that stuff later. But I'm going to look into this area. So let's see what we got going on here. So as you guys can see, lot lines. We got lot lines selected, right? I believe.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
No, you're good. I use satellite view. Well, do you want to show them GIS map driving for dollars, or are you just going to show them Zillow?
I'm going to go through all of these. I'm not going to do the GIS map, but I will do property appraisers. But I wanted to show you guys Zillow really quickly. I was looking for the little. I thought there was a button that says lot lines, but I don't remember where that is.
It's got the.
Yeah. Anyways, so look, that looks like a lot, or it could be a house covered in trees. That looks like an infill lot. That looks like an infill lot. So it's really simple, right? To go through these things and look for lots. It's crazy. Like you would think when you look at your town, you're like, oh, I don't think there's a lot of infill lots. And then you drive around, you're like, oh my goodness, like there are. A lot of times when there's a big residential neighborhood like this, like a big tract community, essentially, you're usually not going to find any infill lots. But look, because you never know, there could have been a fire, there could have been something at one point. There, I would imagine right here, yeah, there's some sort of issue where you can't build. You could tell by the lot lines being all wonky. So there's probably some wetlands issue or something like that right there. And so that is that. So yeah, pick an area, drive for dollars, stay to that area. I like to make a little mark of, where I last left off at, and then keep going. Now, let's see, let me find, that looks like one, but I'm going to find a better one. I just picked like a random kind of crappy area. Let's see, I'm going to do one specific.
Nathan, I see your question. And Nathan asked, can you dive into underwriting process as well as you're showing us the driving for dollars? We went into more of a deep dive on it on the first episode of Grounded, which will be on YouTube. But I want to keep this super short and sweet, Nathan, which is why I'm saying this. So go check out the first episode, but our offer model is not like most, I guess, land people who offer, because they use a percent based. We use a builder based model, which is, using construction costs. So if you go to the first episode, you'll get to see our calculator and how we break that stuff down. So just wanted to throw that in there, Nathan, because underwriting's a whole other conversation. So
for sure. Yeah, we spent a whole hour on that. So it's a lot. It really is a lot. You don't have to overthink it, but you don't want to underthink it either. Like valuing the lot is very important, because there's no such thing as a land property appraiser like there are for single family. So how do you determine it? So there's a lot that goes into it. So here's a lot right here, Hyde Ave. This is actually a lot that we wholesaled a few months ago. This is a fun one. I think we made a little over 10K on this one. But so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on the property, and now I've got the address, right? So I can take this address, and there's a couple things I can do. I'm going to do things like I'm working in my state, right? So I'm actually going to go to the property appraisers. I know that this city is in Bay County, so I already pulled it up, Bay County property appraiser. I'm going to go here to the location, Hyde Ave, boom. And the seller was John back in the day, but now it's Simon. So anyways, this is a lot that, like I said, that we locked up a while back, and we wholesaled it. So here, though, all you're looking for is the owner info, right? So the owner's info is going to be right there. As you guys can see, this is an LLC because we sold it to a builder, but usually it'll have a person's name, and then it'll have their mailing address. And obviously you can use that information to skip trace. So you just pop that person's name in a True People search, and their city and state, and hit enter, and then call the phone numbers that pop up, or write them down and then move on, keep carrying on. So that's pretty much, kind of how you do it via Zillow. It's the same thing on the property appraiser side. So I'm going to do this. Let's go. I'm just going to click on this map. Most property appraiser sites, by the way, they're all pretty similar. So I'm going to show you ours, but we use, there's 3 or 4 different counties we work out of, and each one's a little bit differently, but they're all kind of the same at the same time. Okay, so here's a property appraiser site, right? So I had to put an address in just to get me to the map, but now I'm on the map, right? So let's say, okay, I'm going to drive for dollars. I don't know. And let's pick this area. This area looks fun. I know this area, Panama City Beach. Okay, so, I'm just going to start here and kind of work our way out. So we'll start over here. I'm seeing some really grainy photo images. It's really hard to look at. Looks like there's a lot of opportunity in here, right? Looks like there's a lot of lots. So again, I'm just showing you guys what I do. Now, I know for us, most people aren't looking to, most builders, I should say, aren't building other people's dream homes and then putting it on the market to sell, right? Those are custom home builders. Those are people that, folks that have a little bit of change, probably people that live in this neighborhood, came and bought this spot of land and they took it to a custom builder and they said, hey, I want to build my dream home on this house. Can you help me? And they're like, yeah, cool. They do that. Most builders won't buy a piece of land in a really nice neighborhood and build a McMansion and then list it. So you kind of want to be careful where you're driving for dollars. A lot of times you're not looking for waterfront stuff. Like right here, we've got 2 waterfront lots, but odds are your builder's not going, because you're going to have to pay a premium, for these lots. Your builder's going to have to build a house on there. On the whole time you paid a premium, build the house on there. While I'm saying a builder could be a she, they could, that house could sit on the market for 6, 7, 8 months because it's waterfront. It's very specific to a specific person. So you got to keep these kind of things in mind. These are things we didn't know in the very beginning. We were locking up waterfronts and all this stuff, but then we couldn't sell them. We're like, why not? We thought we had a good deal. It's way more than just a deal. It could be a great deal for a builder, but still they don't want to build on it because the risk, because of something. So just keep those things in mind, as you're going through your land learning process. Is you're going to bob and weave. This happens to us all the time. That's how we learn. We learn through a lot of times negative experiences. So don't try to prevent them. Embrace them. It's okay. We've made tons of mistakes. We still have a company. Tanner and I are still alive. Matter of fact, our company's grown, so you've got to fall before you really learn to walk. So it's okay. All right. So anyways, enough about the Tony Robbins life lessons and all that good
So
stuff.
what are they? I mean, like if you click on a lot, what's some of the information they need to gather?
Yeah, I'm getting there, Tanner. Hold your horses. Jesus, dude. This guy gives me the mic for a day and can't help himself.
Are we looking for something specific though?
We are. We're looking for names. Okay, here we go. All right, there we go. Boom. Okay, so here's a vacant lot owned by a seller, right? Here's a vacant lot owned by a company. Those are still callable. It's just a lot of work trying to find these people. And a lot of the times they bought that lot. If it's company owned, they're going to do something with it. They're going to build on it. You want to find info lots that have people's names on it, like this person. So I clicked on that lot. Looks like Frank Crosby owns it. I'm not going to do a lot of research on this, guys. Like, we don't do all this deep diving and then we call them. Absolutely not. Because the first thing we need to know is, like, are they interested in selling? Frank could have just bought this lot, 3 weeks ago, and he's at the builder's office right now, drawing up plans. So we want to reach out and make sure that this lot meets all of our criteria. So Frank Crosby, we got that person's address. We're going to skip trace it. We're going to write that address down. And we're going to move on. And we're going to keep looking, right? So that's how we drive for dollars, in a sense. So with that being said, I'm going to stop sharing screen and go back. There we go. All right. Okay. So we drove for dollars, right? We got a list. Now we got to call people. Now the scary stuff sets in. Tanner, I feel like you got something to say.
No, we're rolling.
Okay, good. Jump in. Feel free to keep interrupting me, anytime you want, by the way. I love it. I love when people interrupt me. It's great.
Got you.
All right. So I'm going to pull this back up. All right. Cold calling landowners. I thought I'd get way more of a reaction out of you with your ADD self, with how wonky I've been making all these titles, but you haven't even you don't even care. You're just
I've noticed, but
info. You're lame, man. I thought.
Hey, we're talking land. I'm locked in.
Yeah. All right. I get it. Okay, good, guys. Look, calling landowners. Here's the thing. And this is this is the truth. This is it right here. We say don't be better, be different. I don't want to belabor the point, but with land, it's different. Land is different from single family in so many ways. A lot of people, tout that land is easier, and I hate that. I wish people would stop doing that. A lot of times it's gurus just trying to get you to, join their course, join their team, all that stuff. Hey, it's easier over here. If it's easy, it's sleazy usually. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want the easier thing. You don't. You want something that aligns more with your goals and your purpose and your vision. That's it. That's why we pivoted from single family to land. I'm not saying everyone else should do that, but our vision, Tanner and I's vision, is to eventually get into development. We said that before, and we always say that. And so it just made sense for us to understand the land game. And so with land, it's a complete mindset shift. So if you're a single family person and you get a land deal that lands on your desk, or you want to try and make a land call or something like that, just know it's a different person. It's a different scenario. It's a lot of stuff. You could still use, if you're using Brent Daniels' TTP script, like the scripts are still pretty similar. But your mindset is completely, like, you have to shift it going into this. You have to realize that landowners, are transactional. They really are. It's almost like a B2B conversation, business to business conversation over a B2C, business to customer. It's a different relationship. So just keep that in mind. With us, the one thing that we really try and drive home to our sellers is that we are actually on your side. Like, we're on your side. And that's weird for sellers to hear. They don't want to believe it. They really don't. They're like, oh, you're just saying that. Well, and I'm like, no, you'll see in a little bit. We're actually on your side. We're not enemies. We're not coming and, we want to buy your land for super cheap. And you're like, well, I'll take this much, and meet me in the middle, that whole thing. We do negotiate, but we are truly our seller's advocate. We want to try and get the most for their land as possible. That's weird, right? You normally don't want to do that. You want to get the land for as cheap as humanly possible so you can build a big spread, right? That's the normal way. And we want that as well. Don't get me wrong. Like, we look for those big spreads, and we get those big spreads. But if you want to be different, you got to do things differently. You know what I mean? You have to find ways to really, truly bring value to the marketplace. So for us to bring value to our marketplace, we really learned that we had to be the seller's advocate. So we'll talk more about that in a second, but just know that. So here's the thing with land, motivation can be there for sure. It's just rare. When you're calling single family, we're calling to extract the motivation. We already know there's motivation for the most part, right? We know that they've got a foreclosure, or there's some liens, or, it's a tired landlord situation. We know there's distress. We just need them to kind of admit it. So we're on the phones trying to pull out the motivation, even though it's there. With land, it's a lot of times it's not there. There's times where, like the Hyde guy that we called, I would say he was pretty motivated. He wasn't desperate by any means, but it didn't take a lot of conversations with John to get him on the phone, to get the deal sold, and to move on, So the motivation's there for some people, but just know it's rare. So we're not really looking for desperate land people. If you are, you're going to be making a lot of phone calls, and you should probably just pull lists instead of driving for dollars if you're looking for that. What we're looking for are people who want to sell, right? People who are interested in selling. That's all we're looking for. That does not mean that they are necessarily motivated, but that means that they're willing to sell, right? They're just willing, because land, it's different. Again, some people aren't willing to sell. They're just not. They've got their own plans, or they're holding on to it, or they've got some crazy price in mind, and they don't want to talk to you, or whatever. So just know that motivation is there in land, but it's rare. But we still want to extract. We still want to find out, hey, if you did this deal, what would you do with the money? That kind of deal. And so again, we want to look for sellers that are interested in selling. We're not in the convincing business. We are in the sorting business. So for the people that are like, what's your offer? And they're just looking for you to throw a number out so they can, say yes or no to it and move on. We're not really looking for those people. I'm not going to say no when they say, what's your offer, but through our script, we actually kind of talk them down off their what's your offer high horse, to listen to us, to answer our questions, and then to give us their number at the end. And so it's a nice little thing. Once we've got that perfected, I should say, I'm happy to share our script later on. But right now, I don't want to do it just because it's still in trials for various reasons. So last thing, the value of land is determined by the buyer. That's huge. That is huge line. Because look, when it comes to single family, guys, we know there's appraisers out there, right? There are people who are paid to tell you this is what your home is worth. They go to appraisal school and they get all the stuff, all the certifications to allow them to do that, right? Because it's a big deal. It's a pretty important thing, or else their job wouldn't exist. Well, in land, it's not that it's not important. It's just there's so many variables that there's no way an appraiser could say this is what the land is worth. There's way, like, this person's land can have more oak trees than the land next to it, same size, same everything, and that land may be worth less just because oak trees are very expensive to pull out of the ground. It's little stuff like that, right? So just know that the value of land is truly determined by the buyer. Why is that helpful to know? Because it puts you in the driver's seat. It really does. We're not coming to the deal like hat in hand, like, please take our offer. When you get good at evaluating land, your dollar amount that you're bringing is a real number. You know what I mean? Everyone else's dollar amounts is either low and it's trash. It's just someone who didn't take the time to evaluate that, or it's some crazy high number that they're really not, like, how come you didn't take that offer if you got that offer kind of deal. And so just know our numbers are good. Like, when you work your numbers, we're the buyer. We're actually determining the value. So don't let a seller kind of bully you into thinking that your number is wrong or off or whatever. It just doesn't work for them. So just know that, have some confidence going into the call, knowing that your value is real. You determine the value of the land, right? You do. It's just, there's nothing else to say unless Tanner has something else to say. But no, for real, what's your feedback on what we went over so far?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest is the value of land. Again, that's why we do our offer model is, that's why we do what we do in terms of underwriting, and very specific, like Aishan was saying, with like oak trees and like all these little minuscule stuff that 99% of people wouldn't think of. We factor in, because one, for land to begin with, there's not a lot of leverage. You can't go to the seller and say, hey, your foundation's screwed, or it needs a new roof and plumbing, whatever. You don't really get that in land. And so you kind of have to be nitpicky on the minuscule stuff, because that's your leverage. And fortunately, all the little stuff usually equals big dollars. Just tapping into a sewer line is equivalent to putting a roof on a small home. Like, there's expensive fees that go into land. And so the more the more leverage you're going to have with sellers, meaning the bigger discounts you're going to be able to get. And now it's important to understand that stuff, because obviously you have to teach the sellers a lot of that stuff as well. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, when you're looking to potentially, evaluate a lot that looks like it's around 50 grand, something like that, to, for us to acquire, that'd be a good price. They're getting offers at like 10, maybe 15. Like, they're getting crazy offers because those people haven't taken the time. They're just doing what most people do, canvassing the area, getting kind of a guesstimation about what land should sell for there, and then sending mail and just, blasting these people. So they're getting told all these ridiculous numbers. And then you come riding in, like on your white horse, saying, hey, look, all those offers that you've gotten are garbage. I can verify that. But we're not here to overpay for this lot. We're here to give you a really accurate offer. And so I need to find out very specific bits of information that I couldn't find publicly to get that. And the answers that you give could increase our offer. And so, like Tanner said, if there's already sewer and water on the lot, oh my gosh, like that, the value increases tremendously to a builder for sure, which gives us the ability to come up on our offer a little bit if we need to. You know what I mean? So that's a beautiful thing. I'm going to move forward. I don't remember what the next slide is. Oh, the land pillars. I did get it. Kind of looks like a pillars.
Tanner. Oh, the background of the filler or whatever.
Yeah. I'm so sad that you didn't like all the work that I put into these titles. Okay. When we call, Brent Daniels, I'm a big TTP guy. When I first got started, Brent was who I listened to. I still to this day listen to him before I make calls because he fires me up. So Brent's the man, is one of my heroes in real estate. He has the pillars, right? So we have the land pillars. Ours are a lot more simple, His are condition, timeline, motivation, price, right? Those are the things you want to get when you're on a call. With us, it's kind of the same. We want to know the condition of the land, which is pretty much our pillars. But the motivation, it's good to get. It's helpful, not necessary, but definitely helpful. The timeline, really not, there's no desperation in land. So there's really no need to establish a timeline. The main thing with a seller is it's almost like, hey, are you going to be in town for the closing? That's really all, they care about. So if you got to push it out, it's usually not a big deal because they've been sitting on that land for years, So timeline, comment, motivation, price, all that good stuff. Price is obviously a big one. But we are more concerned about the condition, Here's the thing. When you call a seller, if you don't know anything about their land, you're probably going to piss them off, right?
The
Again,
obvious stuff.
Yeah, don't be better, be different. So all the stuff that you saw when you clicked on the property appraiser site, use that visual, to your advantage. Use the information you're looking at to your advantage. Find the lot dimensions. Find out, pull up the GIS and find out the zoning. Find out if it's in a wetlands. Get as much info as you can because you're going to separate yourself, from that. So when you call that seller, you say, hey, Mr. Mrs. Seller, this is such and such with such and such, just looking to see if you're open to selling your lot. And they say, what's your offer? You say, great. Hey, before I dig into that, I know everything about your lot, for the most part. There's just a few bits of public information or information that aren't public that I couldn't find on the property appraiser site that I need to know, namely utilities. Let me ask you, is that lot on septic or sewer? And then you just go into it. Because I can tell you the cold callers that are doing this are not asking these people these questions. And the second you do that, you add in some professionalism. You add in a little bit of, oh, okay, these guys are different. Okay, these guys, they seem to know what they're talking about, And then when you ask them, if they say septic and you ask things like, you ask things like, when's the last time you had a perk test or percolation test done? Odds are they're going to be like, oh, I don't know, what the hell's a perk test? But just by you asking that puts you one level, ahead of them. Just be careful using verbiage that is like, internal verbiage. You could say perk test, not percolation test. That's fine. But yeah, just be careful with using verbiage. What were you going to say?
I would say if you're going to say stuff like ask a seller perk test, be prepared to answer that question because there's been plenty of times where sellers will ask you right back, what's that? What does that do? And if you can't answer it, but you brought it up, it's not going to look so good. So
yeah, I hope to God you guys are educated on anything that you're trying to educate other people on. Yeah. If you don't know something before, for sure. Great point, Tanner. If you don't know what a perk test is, Google it. You know what I mean? Yeah, we've been caught with our pants down a couple times in the beginning, saying stuff that we thought sounded good, and then we got challenged on it, and we're like, ugh. So those are fun examples, but those are all reasons why I almost want you to call and get challenged because once that happens, it'll never happen again. You'll get that embarrassing moment where you're like, and then you'll know from then on, anytime, you want to say something to a seller that you're not knowledgeable about, make sure you get knowledged. So anyways, as far as land pillars go, the first thing we want to find out is the utility situation, which is essentially the sewer septic. Is there a water meter and power, right? Like, in our market, power is not really an issue because there's one power company and pretty much, if there's power next door, if there's power to the houses, to the left and the right of you, odds are you can get power in your lot.
If you're calling on rural stuff, power is important.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, but some lots are rural and you do need to know that. But go ahead, Tanner.
No, you're good. I was just throwing that in there.
Okay, great. So Next is recent survey within the last 5 years. So we want to know about the utilities, and we want to know if they've had a recent survey. Um, Very rarely will a survey or will a seller have a survey. It's just a great question because, again, it adds a little credibility to our cause. But then again, if they do have a survey, it could save us a lot of time. So I like to tell people, if they say, anything about the survey, I just say, hey, look, it helps our builders save a lot of time, in our entitlement process, and it can help your offer by, a lot of times $800 to $1,000 because we don't have to do that now. So I always like telling sellers things to make them think that we're just looking for ways to increase the value, right? That's what I'm constantly trying to do to them because I want to get their trust. I want to get them to at the end to tell me their number. That's the whole main thing about this. Okay, so recent survey, and then lastly, HOA. I put on here if area looks HOA-ish because the last thing you want to do is if you're calling on a list, I wouldn't ask that if you don't know where that property is. If that property is in the middle of it looks like Trailer Parkville, don't ask about an HOA. That's going to turn that seller off. They're going to immediately know that you're not familiar with the area. You haven't seen the lot. You don't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? So don't ask about that unless it makes sense in the conversation to do so, but be familiar with the area. And if you're not familiar, have a reason with why you're asking that. So it's not that important, but the main reason why we do want to know is if it does look like it's in an HOA, that can be a problem for you when it comes to trying to sell your deal. Why is that, Tanner? I don't want to start talking because I know you're going to jump in and say something I was probably going to say if you waited.
Yeah, I mean, HOAs have typically deed restrictions or covenants, which will restrict what a builder can and can't build. And it could be little stuff like the house has to be white, or the builder has to use 60% brick, and then the remaining 40% they can use vinyl siding. There has to be a sidewalk, and at the builder's expense. Like, there's a bunch of little things depending on the HOA. That will restrict on what a builder can and can't build. And a lot of times it's a size of home. It can only be one story. Like, there's so many little things. And so if there is an HOA in that neighborhood, it's extremely important to get the deed restrictions or the covenants, whether that's from the seller or finding the HOA president and contacting them yourself.
Absolutely. And so after that, I mean, once you get that information, it's mostly just rapport building. We talk about a lot of things. I just ask them questions about what were their plans with the lots, or with the lot, and just that's the time where I can get nosy because at that point, you've bought all the time that you need on the conversation. And if they're still talking to you, that means that they like you. That means that they're interested in doing the deal. They're curious. They want to know what's going on. And so that's the time for us to really just connect and build more rapport and, do things like, even if you live in California and you're calling on land in Florida, ask them, hey, would you mind if I stop by the lot this afternoon? I haven't been by it yet. Because I just look for them on the property. You can be honest with me. I love telling people, look, I haven't been by your lot yet because I just look for them on the property appraiser site first. And if it's a deal or if you're willing to sell, then we'll go out to the lot. But, we can't, gas is pricey these days. We can't drive around to every lot, only to call and find out that person, has zero interest in selling. So we call first and then we'll go look. But yeah, I like asking people, hey, do you mind if we go walk your lot? Because it solidifies that you're different. Okay, cool. These people are actually there. They're gonna look into this. And so that's beautiful. And if they need to meet someone there, call a builder and have a builder meet them. You just got to get creative sometimes and zig when they zag, that kind of stuff. Cool. So that's essentially the conversation, in a whole. After that, at the end of the call, what I want to do is get their number, right? Like, I want to find out, because look, here's the thing, there's a thing in sales where it's like the first person that gives their number loses, right? And I know this is a how to find land. This isn't really a sales call, but I can't help myself. I love sales. Sometimes it's okay to give your number. I'm okay with, not always, being the person to give your number second, if you will. The goal though is to get their number, and so we do that just through some crafty verbiage. But essentially, what we tell them, at the end of the call is we say, okay, great. Look, I before I just throw a random number out there. That's not what we do. I got to take the time to go back and properly underwrite this deal. I've got to really run some numbers, and I can come back to you with an offer, and I'm going to do that. But here's how you can help me. If you'll let me know the price that you feel comfortable accepting, I can do everything in my power to get as close as I can to your number. I may be able to match your number. On very rare occasions, we can actually offer more. It's actually happened to one of our sellers. It literally did. We offered more than what they wanted. And it made sense to do so. So it wasn't a big deal. I know a lot of you are yelling at us right now, like, what? You guys did that? That's crazy. But it just makes sense sometimes. But it's the truth. So that's what I tell people. But then I'll say that, and I'll say, so, let me know your number, and then we're going to try and work as hard to get to it. And they'll be like, well, I was hoping to get like 20,000 or 30,000 for it or whatever. And you'll go, okay, 20, 30,000. Okay, cool. Let me see what I can do. Cool. We got their number. Awesome. That's the hardest part. And then you'll have those people that just put up a fight, no matter what you say, they're like, no, you called me, you give me your number. And I'll say, well, Mr. Seller, I don't have a number right now. If I did, I'd be like all those other people that you don't like talking to. So I'm going to go to work and work on a number. Tell you what, let me look up real quick, because I want to make sure that the number that I'm probably going to give you, is at least in the ballpark. So what we'll do is we'll actually pull up Zillow. We'll look for houses that recently sold in the area, preferably new construction. If you can find new construction, that's the best. But look for houses that recently sold in the area. Just get 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. Look at the dollar amount of that house that sold, and then average it out. So let's say there's a 450, there's a 500, and there's a 600 lot, right? So it looks like we got an average home sale price of like 500,000, right? And you can say this, you can talk this out. Love doing this with sellers, because I want them to hear that, look, this is how silly this is what I'm doing, versus an actual really good thought out number. So I pull it up and I'd say, hey, it looks like there's a house that just got built that sold here for 450. There's another one, 600. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, the way most builders buy their lots is basically a loose percentage of the sale amount. So they know if they're looking to sell this house for $500,000, they do not need to spend more than, let's say, 10% of that amount, right? 10% of the $500,000 is what? 50 grand, right, Tanner? Is my math right? So 50 grand, right? Now, I'm not telling this to the seller, but I'm just telling them 10%. And so it looks like the average home in this area, Mr. Seller, looks like, let's just say roughly 500,000. So we could probably build a $500,000 home in here. I haven't looked into it yet, but I'm assuming we could build it and sell it, within 3 to 4 months, which is, pretty much ideal for what we're doing. With that amount, I would probably say our range is going to be somewhere between, on the low end, 20, 25, maybe 30, up to 50, maybe higher. But again, you asked for a number. I don't have a number, but I wanted to give you a range. Is this the range that the ballpark that you were kind of thinking? Well, yeah, that doesn't sound too far off. Or, oh, hell no. I'm that thing's well over $100,000. Okay. So 100 what? Like, are we talking 100,000 or? And then, where'd you get that? How did you come up with that number? That kind of stuff. You got a number, but sometimes it takes giving them a number to get a number, right? So that's the goal. We got the number, and now we're off. Now we're off to the races, and the rest of it's up to you. The rest of it is up to your underwriting skills and your dispositioning skills, which we will cover in later videos. And look at that, 59 minutes and 54 seconds live. Beat that, Tanner.
There you go.
Yeah, guys. So how to evaluate or how to find land deals. Really simple finding land. You just look on a map, look for, spots of land that don't have a house on it. Click on that, either skip trace the address if you're using Zillow, or put the address in the property appraiser's site, or skip trace it, and get that info, right? Get that owner's info, call them, get that bad boy locked up. And here's another thing, guys. Don't be afraid to cancel a land contract. I get it. When I first started, I wanted to, if you're like me, some of you aren't like me, you don't care about canceling contracts because you're savages. But I didn't want to cancel contracts when I first got started. It was like a failure to me. You know what I mean? It sucked. It felt like I wasn't able to perform. Canceling contracts on land doesn't matter, because think about it. Like, those people, it's not like you're leaving them back in their crappy situation, like on the single family side. If someone's in foreclosure and you cancel, it's hard to sleep at night knowing that you locked that thing up and you couldn't find a buyer for it, or, for whatever reason. So on the land side of the house, they've owned this land for years. The only thing they're doing is paying taxes. If you cancel a contract after 30 days, they're like, okay, well, thanks for trying. They'll literally say that. Like, it's not a big deal. And then you can come back later because it's probably still going to be there. And you've already built a relationship with them. You already know the number. You can come back and renegotiate for whatever reason. So don't worry about canceling contracts if you have to. That shouldn't be a fear at all. But don't go out there and just locking stuff up willy-nilly. Put some thought into this. If you guys have any questions, right, about a deal that you're working on, if you send us an email to deals@Unwind Investments, if it's a deal that we can help you on, if it's in North Florida, we're happy to do that. But we will take some time out to review some of the people that send us deals. Just be really specific in what your question is, and we'll probably just record a Loom video and get back to you just with kind of a visual of what we can do to help. So again, guys, we want to help. That we're newish into land, but we're all in. This is what we're going to do. We have a big vision for what we're going to do with our company, Unwind Investments. And we're going to be here. We're going to keep showing up live and keep filling you guys in with what we're learning until there's just so much content out there that there's no need for us to go live. And then we'll just do like a Q&A from that point. But we want to keep coming back and bringing value to the market, because I know it's needed out there. When we started in land, there was no one that we can go to for the most part. There's a couple people, but they were busy and you couldn't keep bothering them. And so we wanted to have a platform that we can give to our fellow land lovers to go out there and get it done. So we're going to keep showing up. We just ask that you guys keep showing up, keep supporting us, smash that like button, subscribe, do all the things, and yeah, help a brother out. What you got, Tanner?
Yeah, no, every time you guys like, subscribe, all that stuff, it definitely helps. We just want to know that we're being helpful and useful to you guys. That's the only reason we're doing this, because we've had a lot of people reach out to us, asking questions, asking for help, yada, yada, yada. And so, which was what prompted us to start this. So the more you guys can share it, like it, all the fun stuff, the more it'll allow us to reach a larger audience and help more people, and ultimately impact more people, which is what our goal is, whether it's in business or outside of business. So we appreciate you guys, and yeah, stay tuned. Absolutely.
And for the 4 people hanging in live, shout out to you guys, for real. Big fist bump for y'all for staying there the whole time. This is cool. I love seeing the numbers grow. I think today is the most we've had on live. It's been pretty neat. So anyways, guys, we'll see you around. We're going to get back to work. I suggest you guys do as well. We'll see you on the next episode. Stay tuned, by the way, for Monday's episode from the Wholesaling show, guys. Like, this is a good one. This is going to be a banger. I want to say who's going to be on there so bad. I'll just say this. I want to say it's the first person that we've had back on the show since we started. Their first story was crazy impactful, and they've got a lot more that's happened in their business since then. And so we're we're coming back with an update. So check us out on Monday, Wholesale Elite. We're all over the place on all the podcast platforms and YouTube. And yeah, until then, guys, we'll see you around. Peace.